Hi, everybody. I hope y'all having a real good evening. This is JoJo Norton. I'm here with the Ladies of Liberty, which is kind of like a shoot-off program from Moretti Underground where we do our special shows. And like I said, I'm JoJo Norton, and today is Wednesday, May 14th, 2014. And our call-in number is 347-202-0407. We're probably we're going to take questions probably in about an hour after we get through kind of with our main talk tonight. And joining us tonight, first of all, let me thank Lynn very much because she's my producer tonight and taking care of the switchboard. We have a Blog Talk chat room that if you hit the link to the show, if you're on your computer, you hit the link to the show, you scroll down and you'll see a little chat room. And there'll be some folks in there, chatting with you, monitoring the chat room, probably AstroTurf, maybe Joanne, and probably Lynn, and a few others. Our main guest tonight is going to be Raina G. Most of you probably have heard of her. She's an author, and one of her books is Forget the Cures, Find the Cause. She has spent many, many, many years studying holistic medicine. She's got a long, long background in this, and when she comes on, I'll let her tell you a little bit more about it. And then we're also probably at the top of the hour. I hope I'm still on here. Okay, I'm going to have to go to the chat room to see if y'all can still hear me. For some reason, there was a problem, and Lynn has dropped off the switchboard, so I'm not sure what's going on just yet. So I'll just keep talking, and hopefully Lynn will call back in. Meanwhile, let me go see if I can't check chat room. I have trouble opening up more than one window in my little crummy computer. But anyway, back to Raina G. She's got a long, long history in holistic medicine. She's written many books. One, I've read several of them. Like I said, it was Forget the Cures, Find the Cause. So, hold on just a second. Let me make sure I got all this running right. Lynn, if you've come back on, you need to open your mic and let me know. Testing, 1, 2, 3. I think I can hear me talking on this thing. I'm trying to get to the chat room. Okay, so I'm making noise. I can hear me in the background. Okay, Lynn will call back in a minute. Let me get all this out and get started over again here. So y'all bear with me just a minute. I'm not used to working this switchboard. Oh. I'll get it in just a minute. Here we go. Okay. All right. Okay, I'm good to go. Okay, let me kind of get my bearings here again. Okay, like I said, Raina G is going to join us. I've already told you about her. I have a couple of nurses that are probably going to call in at the top of the hour that are also into natural medicines and holistic type healing. And as y'all all know that know me, I've really kind of got tuned into all this stuff after I started reading Obamacare. And actually, it's more of a disaster than I even thought 5 years ago. So basically, we all need to figure out how to take care of our own bodies, our own health, and how to use natural medicine as much as possible. Because number one, it'll be very difficult to find a doctor to take care of you. But that's neither here nor there. There's a whole lot about medicine and natural stuff that everybody needs to know anyway, and how to stay well, how to have preventative ways to stay well, not just get well after you're sick, but you need to know how to keep from getting sick also. Another subject we're going to talk about tonight is something called CBD, and it's nothing new. It's been around for a long time. It's industrial hemp. And we're going to get into that quite a bit later, and it's also a nature supplement. And so I'm going to open up Raina's mic, and I'm going to let her tell you a little bit more about herself. Hang on just a second.
Hey there, I'm here. I can't hear you. Hello?
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 Can you hear me?
I can hear somebody. Who is this?
This is Lynn. I think we lost JoJo. So I think she's going to be calling back in. Hello? think we lost everybody now. Hold on one moment.
Hello, you
Hello?
keep muting me. You keep muting me.
I didn't hit anything. I don't know what happened.
Well, somebody's muting me. I don't know what's going on.
JoJo dropped off. We lost her.
She's probably muted.
No, the call is not in the switchboard at all. She's not
great.
connected, so she must have.
So are we online?
There
are we on?
She's coming back now. Hold on.
Here I am. Man, everything that could go wrong is going wrong. My phone just totally quit on me. But fortunately, I have a backup phone. So here we go. Raina, you've joined us. Introduce yourself. And maybe we can get this rolling without any more complications because we're having quite a few tonight.
All right.
So how are you doing tonight, Raina?
I'm doing great. The rain has just started back again. If it gets too loud, I'll be walking in the house.
Okay.
I have an office outside. It's a screened-in porch, about 42 by 30, and I stay out in nature, about 18 hours a day. I do all my work from out here, so I try not to get wet, but you know,
yeah.
It's just the thing is it gets loud. So try not to mute me again. I think I called in and I got muted 9 times, but unless you need to mute me because I talk too much.
No,
anyway.
that won't happen.
Yeah,
no, we just had some massive switchboard problems. Lynn dropped off, then I dropped off, then my Verizon, my whole phone went out on me. So whatever, we're on a roll now, so maybe we won't have any more problems.
It's the nature of energy, JoJo. That's the way it works.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay.
Okay, so what I'll tell you, I don't know who's on and who's listening or who might listen later, but most people don't know my background really. I started in earth medicine, or new earth medicine, by the time I was 14. And the reason for that is I had a kind of a rough childhood, and I grew up in a cemetery because it was the safest place to live, and hurt myself and didn't know how to fix it. I just washed it off with a garden hose, cut myself on a big piece of glass, and wrapped it up with a rag, and a couple of days later my hand was turning green, and some of my friends said, you need to go see the grandmothers. And I'm part Native American, so the reservation, the Seneca Nation, Seneca Hawk, was close to me. So I went to see the grandmothers, and they told me to close my eyes and close my ears. And what that meant was not to listen to my fear of what was wrong with my hand, but to listen to my body. And that started me on what has been a long, long journey. They used herbs that I now know were golden seal, among other things, to clean my wound, and within days it was fine. Otherwise, I probably would have lost my hand because my hand was turning green. But they saw something in my other hand and said, you've been chosen to learn what medicine is. And they told me that the word medicine actually means self-knowledge, and it's something that we have lost over the decades and hundreds of years. We've forgotten that we know how to heal ourselves, that we have the ability within our bodies, that God has given us everything within our bodies to heal ourselves, but we have given up that power to other authorities. And so we listen to doctors when they say this is what you need to take or this is what you need to do, or the doctors listen to pharmaceutical companies just like we do 20 times a night on television. Ask your doctor if this is right for you. No, the thing we have to do is ask ourselves if it's right for us, because we know. We inherently know what's good for us and what isn't. We know when we're out of balance, when we don't have homeostasis, which is balance in the body, because we don't feel right. We are at dis-ease, which if we don't take care of it, that evolves into disease. And if you don't take care of that kind of lowers all of our frequencies down to death. So we need to keep in balance as much as possible. We're never going to be totally in balance because it's just like that yin-yang symbol. You know, as soon as it's all dark, there'll be a little bit of white. As soon as it's all white, there'll be a little bit of dark. That's the way we work energetically. To understand that, what I usually teach people in my holistic health classes, I start from very basic stuff. That we are on the earth, and the earth is just an incredible soul and being. Beneath us are layers and layers of all kinds of things that are electrically charged. We have a North Pole and we have a South Pole. One is positive and one is negatively charged. That causes life within the earth to continuously move. You learned about magnetic energy when you were kids, and you saw if you put two likes together, they repelled, and if you had opposites, they attracted. And that causes movement. If you remember those old iron filing things when we used to make faces, with the iron filings using magnets, you could cause all kinds of things to happen. Well, beneath the earth are the same things that we're made of, or we're made of the same thing as the earth. We have all the same elements in us. If you remember your elemental charts from chemistry class, Ca positive and magnesium and potassium, all those things, iron, those are all in our bodies. And they each have a charge to them based on their structure, which is either positive or negative. So there's movement within our bodies according to the movement of the electromagnetic field around the earth that we live on. With our north and south poles, the movement within the earth happens with tectonic plates. Tectonic plates are really big electromagnets, to keep it simple. That's when you feel the tremors and the earthquakes going on. Those tectonic plates are moving. Well, they're just like magnets, and when they move, it changes the way the earth energy is moving. So you might have a flare-up, you might have a famine, you might have a flood, you might have rainstorms that you never saw before, and snowstorms in the middle of May. And because the earth is actually going through its own cycles of trying to heal itself, mostly from things that we've done to it and we are doing to it, but also because it is an electromagnetic biochemical being in and of itself, and it needs to heal itself. It knows itself better than we do. So anyway, if you think about that, just start there and look at our own bodies as having the same electromagnetic fields. You'll hear people talk about auras and chakras and things like that. That's just our energy fields. It's all those molecules and electrons moving, constantly giving us energy, constantly flowing through us. And what we truly are, if you think about human beings, what we really are is a conduit of light between heaven and earth. We should look like a prism, so that when light passes through us, we have a rainbow of color. But what happens? Well, before we're even conceived, our parents might drink alcohol and take drugs or be on some kind of antibiotic, or had a rough life, or they're angry, or they're not conceiving us with love, they're conceiving us with resentment, or all kinds of things that are energetic in nature, emotional in nature. The word emotion itself is energy in motion, E for energy, and energy in motion. So right away when we're conceived, we already have a part of that prism covered with a little piece of black tape. So it's not completely a rainbow that's coming through. Now there might be some people out there who have rainbows and are born as rainbows, but not very many anymore. Oh, by the way, my voice is going to go in and out, and I could be coughing because I've been on the phone for about 16 days straight for 18 hours a day, and I'm kind of losing it.
You're sounding good. You're sounding good.
I'm trying anyway. I'm trying to help a lot of people at the same time, and it's getting to be a little bit of a thing. But anyway, so we're supposed to be rainbows. Well, we get born, and in our lifetimes anyway, what's happened to us is we've been fed preservatives, we've been on fluoridated water and chlorinated water, and we've had pesticides and herbicides put on our foods and things now, chemtrails going across the sky, and now we have Monsanto, and then we have the emotional upsets that come from fear and love being opposites to each other and the only two true emotions that exist. So with all the fears that we have of not being good enough, of not getting an A, of not looking the right way, of not dressing like everyone else, not fitting in, all those fears add to those emotional upheavals within our bodies. And it's like taking that prism or that crystal, take a long crystal and just keep putting black pieces of tape on it every time you think about something that's happened to you that wasn't resolved, that you didn't forgive, that you didn't clear, that you didn't finalize or whatever. And as we get older and keep getting older, and I'm really getting older, those pieces of tape really kind of start covering that prism, and you hold it up to the light and you don't see much of color at all coming through it anymore. And that's
especially
really,
like if you're like me and you stay anxious over the current state of the politics and news of the world, that can cause a lot of anxiety and stress too.
And then, yes, it does, Joe, and I know where you're coming from. You know that I know because I'm constantly doing political stuff on Facebook and elsewhere. And I do get angry and I do get anxious. On the other hand, I try to stay in balance. So one of the things I will do is, they're doing all this stuff. Do I have control over it? I have control over the way I react to it.
Right.
And I have control over being proactive in trying to change it. but I don't have control over what they're doing. So there's no reason to be anxious and make myself sick. There's no reason to have a nervous breakdown or start drinking or whatever, like some people are doing. I mean, yes, it's upsetting, but it's not different than any of the cycles that have happened in history. These cycles, all we do is keep repeating history, and we keep making them just a little worse than they used to be. And we don't learn very much from our history.
No,
We forget it.
At all.
Okay, and when it comes to health, it's the same thing. We forget our histories. We forget what caused us to be who we are right now and why we might be suffering or why we have arthritis or a backache or, herniated discs or a headache every night or we can't sleep or whatever. We don't look for the cause of that. What people have done and what the pharmaceutical companies, especially Big Pharma, has done is make us believe that if we take a red pill or a blue pill or a yellow pill or something like that, then we don't have to worry about what the cause is. We're just going to take care of the problem. And unfortunately, one problem leads to another problem. There's always collateral damage, just like there is in politics. There's always something else that's going to be affected by not
coming. As a nurse, all those medications start interacting with each other medication, and then you've got more and more problems.
That's right. So, I mean, my whole focus, my whole life let me go back to where I was. I learned earth medicine, but I was told by my grandmothers, I ended up having 7 who raised me, not to go out and ask for money for my gifts, but to just give my gifts away. And if people felt like they should pay me or repay me, then I should accept it, but I should never ask. So I never looked at what I was doing in the holistic health field as a profession. I was known as the parking lot therapist and the woman with the pouch who fixed my arm, and nobody ever knew my name, and there was no need for it. I'm a medical intuitive, so often I will get out of my car and somebody will be getting out of their car, and I can feel the pain in their shoulder, or I can feel what's going on in their hip, and I'll walk over and maybe rotate the biceps tendon back in so they can now raise their arm over their head or something, and then I just smile at them, and they never ever push me away. They never say no. I just smile and give them some love, and I walk away. I don't need anything else but that. That's what my life has been, and so for years I would do that, but I went into other things. I joined the Marines when I was 18 for lots of reasons. I wanted to write about the war. I was a writer, and my recruiter said, "Don't worry, but once you get in, you can go write about the war." But I passed the electronics test, and the women never did that. So instead of writing about the war, I got put into electronics school, which was just totally unheard of. When I was in the Marines, there were only 2,400 women Marines in the world, and I happened to be one that went into electronics school, which meant marching across from where the women Marine barracks was to the opposite side of the base every day at 4:30 in the morning to go to electronics school by myself. If you ever try to march by yourself, it's not an easy thing to do. But anyway, I didn't understand why I all of a sudden got into electronics. I mean, so I passed the test. I got 99 in journalism and 61 in electronics or something. I did understand later that I needed to understand energy and electricity and all that stuff from a different perspective than what I was taught by my grandmothers. So I did that and went into computers when I got out of the Marines because it was a brand new thing, and IBM had basically started that whole movement towards computers until Gates and what's his name got involved. But so I was the first woman in the country to fix mainframe computers for IBM, written up in Parade magazine and all that as IBM's brain-picking Wonder Woman, which got me kind of angry because I said, why do you have to be a Wonder Woman to do this? Any woman can do this. You don't have to be, I didn't like, it was almost, it just wasn't right for them to make it different than everybody else. But anyway, so I learned by fixing computers, I learned about the right ways to do it according to the industry, using an oscilloscope and a meter and check out these giant computers that were the size of houses and fix them. But what I started to learn was that I didn't need to use their tools, that we had all the tools we needed to fix computers because we are energy too. And computers weren't some big idea. They were actually taken from us. All of our ideas come from us, from what we are made of, what God made us. So God made us with the ability to have input, whether that's through our eyes, our ears, our touch, our senses, our sense of smell, even our intuition, and that gets input into our bodies as energy, as a specific kind of energy going to different parts. So we might have random access memory, where suddenly we can recall things we didn't think we remembered. We might have read-only memory. We might have a memory dump where we can't remember anything. You walk into a room and you forgot why you went there. All the glitches that you see in computers happen in us all the time. There's blockages. There's a time when we just freeze up. There's times when we have too much information. It's memory overload, and it's information overload. There's too much data, and we can't deal with it. There's just too much. We can't digest it. That's our digestive system. People talk to us, or there's too many emotions, and we can't digest what we're hearing or seeing anymore. So we get an upset stomach. We get too much acid, and we get too much inflammation. We're so inflamed, it's like your computer overheating. It's the same stuff. It's nothing miraculous that way. It's not so mystifying. When I used to teach people about computers back in 1971 and 2, they were frightened of them. They were these monstrous machines. And I would put stick figures on the board, on the chalkboards, and say, no, it's us in a machine form. That's all it is. And it became very easy to repair them because I knew how to repair or help people repair themselves, and I knew how to repair myself. So I would look at computers the same way, and I would run my hand over logic boards, and I would know which chip had to be pulled. I didn't have to use tools because I understood the machines. Now, while I was in the Marines, I was supposed to go to Vietnam finally, not to write about it, but to train men to fix radios. And the day before I was supposed to leave, I got 60 shots or something like that. I don't remember how many because they shoot you with guns in both arms as you walk through the line. And, you just do it. But within 24 hours, I was paralyzed from my waist down. I couldn't walk. My legs became almost elephantitis in the way they looked. I developed lesions. They were purple, yellow, orange, and green. I went to sick bay, and they said, must be some bug bit you. And they couldn't find any bugs anywhere. And then, but they wouldn't let me go. They wouldn't do anything for me because they didn't know what to do. And so I tied my Oxfords very tight, and I marched to electronics school and went to teach guys there because I couldn't go to Nam until I couldn't really march anymore. And I'd get back to the barracks, and I'd go to the floor, and people would carry me to the bathrooms and things like that. About the 10th day, the pain in my spine from what was going on in my back and my legs, was so intense that I finally checked myself in the Balboa Naval Hospital, and immediately was attended to by multiple doctors and nurses because they thought I had been crushed between two cars. That's what they thought they were seeing. And I said, no, I've been walking around like this for over a week. So they put me in the hospital, and they tested me for everything. I had so many doctors around me, it was ridiculous. And they couldn't even get a reaction out of my body when they were supposed to get a reaction. They'd shoot me full of things to see if I was allergic to stuff, and I wouldn't react because I was very into making my body understand that it should not react negatively to things. And so they were just amazed at what my body was doing. They finally, after several months, said they couldn't give me a diagnosis, so they called it a female disease.
Oh, no. They didn't.
That's what they put in the medical records, and I'm still fighting that to this day. But so they said I was never going to walk again, and of course I would not accept that. I had been a sports person. I was supposed to be in the Olympics when I got out of the service, and the first thing to go is your legs. So I got back in touch with my grandmothers, and I said, this is what my legs look like. This is what they're doing. This is what I can't feel. This is what hurts. And they always called me little one because I'm not a whole big person. I'm not even going to tell you how tall I am. I'm a little short thing. And they said, little one, we will send you what you need, but close your eyes and close your ears so that you can hear your body and not be afraid of what your body's doing, because it's the fear of the fear of death, the fear of not being able to walk, the fear of pain, the fear of all those things that cause us not to listen to what we need. So they sent me some of the herbs that I needed, and I taught myself, my body relearned to walk again. And I walked just fine. I couldn't ever run like I used to, but because my knees would swell up, I had nothing left there. But I could walk, and I walked tall until 2008. And everybody knows what happened then. If you're on this, if you're listening to JoJo, in 2008, we had an election in 2007. I started fighting that election, actually 2006, but all the way through 2007. This has gone on for almost 8 years for me now. But this is kind of how our energy works. When the vote came in November 2008, the very next day my leg swelled again.
Whoa.
And I couldn't walk. I went into the energy of the negative energy of what was going to happen next, and it came into my body and stayed there. And my legs swelled and they turned colors, and the 9/12 march in Washington, D.C., I was in a wheelchair. But I got out of that wheelchair when I got to the mall, and I walked, and I sat on the curb and wept as I watched a million people walk there. And I walked back to the trains and went back to Baltimore to my hotel, and then got back in my wheelchair. But I stood and saluted and sang the hymns and all that. But anyway, that's off the health thing, but that is political. But this is the reason I brought it up isn't because of the politics as much as how we take things into our bodies and the negative energy and what it can do to us. And all of our cells have a memory. It's, I'm also a massage therapist, a reflexologist, an iridologist, etc., and I've taken all of those courses. I've been through all of that. And one of the things that comes out of all those courses is the issues are in the tissues, and they always remember. You watch a child who was beaten as a child, could be a 30-year-old man now, and you raise your hand a certain way, and you'll watch his body flinch. He's totally unconscious of it, but he remembers, his tissues remember that his father used to beat him. So if you raise your hand the same way, his body reacts to that because of that memory. That energy hasn't been released, it hasn't been changed. So all of our cells have this memory, all of our tissues have this memory, and one of our duties to ourselves is to first love ourselves enough to get rid of the fear. To look in the mirror and look at that person looking back at you and say, that's my best friend. That person's going to be with me forever, and I love you. And actually stand in front of that mirror, naked if you can, and look at that person looking back and say, I love you, and say it from the bottom of your heart. And wrap your arms around that person. If you're a man, woman doesn't, a child, tell your children to do the same thing. Put a sign up on the mirror in the bathroom so it's the first thing you say in the morning. Hi, I love you. I'm not going to let anything hurt you. I'm not going to let anything come between you and me. I'm going to understand you just like you do me, and we're going to walk together. And that's because that's the only person you truly have from beginning to end. And you start with that. You start by loving yourself and understanding your connection to the earth and to heaven or the universe, whatever you believe in, and that you are this beacon of light. And there are people and things and incidences and politicians and all that who are going to try to wrap that black tape around you and turn you into a little black clone or whatever, and with no light. You'll hear people from New Agers or whatever, I don't even know what they're called anymore, but they always say they're enlightened and they're the light workers and things like that. Well, that came from knowing that there was something blocking that light. They didn't understand all of it, but it came from knowing that. So we start there, and when we understand all the systems of our bodies that are connected to the electromagnetic energy of the earth. When we get into supplementing those or whatever, you have to think about those things, and you have to understand how it affects you. You don't run out and tell somebody else, you need to take vitamin B6 because I took it and it's good for me and this is how it worked. Well, they don't have your history.
Yeah.
They don't have any of that memory in their cells that you have. And yet you go to a doctor who's got it out of the AMA manuals or whatever, the manuals, that's not what they're called, but anyway, the journals, and it says, well, anybody that comes in and has a leg that looks like this, they should go on this drug. Well, who says? Did he ask you where you grew up, what kind of water you're drinking, what you ate the last week, if you just broke up with someone, if you've got some leftover fear that you never looked at? When a holistic health person like me sits you down for a consultation, it's an hour and a half, 2 hours easy, because I'm going to ask you everything. When did you start feeling that pain in your back? Oh, I don't know, it was about 6 months ago. Okay, and you said you moved from Missouri to California 6 months ago. Oh, yeah, it was the same time. Did you change your diet? No, I always eat. I'm a vegetarian. I always eat the same thing. Did you change your water? Oh, yeah, I drink tap water. do you think maybe the tap water from Missouri to California is a little different? Oh, I guess so. But I use Brita filters. Oh, Brita, okay. By the way, Brita would like to sue me for getting everybody off Brita. But and then I started asking more questions. I had a woman come to me with her sister. She had a large oxygen tank and the tubes up her nose, and she dragged it behind her, came to my house. And she told me this story. She said, I was fine. My husband was a reflexologist. I was in good health. And one day I was driving my car, and all of a sudden I got this pain in my chest. So I pulled off the road and sat there for a few minutes. The pain went away, so I started driving again, and the pain came back. And the next thing you know, I woke up in the hospital, and they'd taken out my gallbladder. And I said, your gallbladder? She says, yeah. I said, I said that your gallbladder's nowhere near your chest. You know that, right? She says, yeah. She says, but the problem was when I woke up from the anesthesia, I couldn't breathe. And they told me I'm allergic to the anesthesia. So I've been on an oxygen tank now for 7 years. So I kept asking questions, okay? I asked a lot of questions, and her sister or sister-in-law, I don't remember, was sitting next to her, and I said, do you mind if I look at your eyes? Because I'm also an iridologist. And the eyes are a window to the soul and also the window to your whole body, just like your feet are and your colon is. And that's a big, long class that I teach anyway. But I looked at her eyes, and I knelt down in front of her, and I looked her in the eyes. Then I said, did you fall? Can you tell me all the times that you've fallen? She goes, oh, no, I haven't fallen in a long time. I looked in her eyes again, and I said, I'm sorry. I said, you have a back injury about 7 years ago. And her sister-in-law jumped up and said, oh, my God, you remember? You fell off the ladder. It was only a 4-rung ladder. You fell off the ladder on your back in the garage. Do you remember that? She goes, oh, yeah, but I didn't get hurt or anything. And I said, then what happened? And her sister-in-law said, the next day is when you had the pain in your chest. And you went to the hospital. And so now she's starting to remember, and her body, you can actually see her body remembering. And I said, okay, what you did is you actually landed on your back and you pushed your vertebrae anteriorly up forward. Two of them. Actually, it was I don't remember now, T4 and I don't remember.
That would be about right. T3, T4, be right there in that
pushed
same
them
area.
Forward and left. And what it did is cause the muscles, that are underneath the scapula that go forward towards the heart to cause pain, okay, which happens a lot. You also have subscapularis and all that goes under the scapula that I can release that will give people heart attack symptoms. And I said, you need to go to a chiropractor, and you need to see me afterwards, and we're going to work this body and put it back in alignment again. And she did, and it only took about 6 weeks, and she was off the oxygen, and she was fine. But she had been on it for 7 years because no one asked her any questions.
Yeah.
Nobody said anything to her that made her remember, okay? Because the cells would remember. If you sit and talk to somebody, they'll remember. It's like sitting around a campfire. All of a sudden, wow, I just remembered when I was 10 years old this happened. Because your body wants to release it, and it wants to heal. So it comes out and says, tell them about this. Show them what's going on. Anyway, so that's basically where I come from with holistic health. I make sure that people's, the 7 keys from that book, the Forget the Cures, Find the Cause, the reason it was written, because that guy, what was his name? Some guy was out doing infomercials about the miracle cures or whatever his name was. And
the one they arrested?
Yeah, the one they finally arrested.
Trudeau.
Gary Trudeau, or something like that. Not the one who does the comics.
Yeah.
But,
Kevin Trudeau.
Trudeau. There it is. Gary is the one who does the comics, right?
Yeah. In fact, I think I have Kevin Trudeau's book somewhere around here.
I saw him on television, and I every time I saw him, I got this awful taste in my mouth, and I said, all right. I talked to my spirit guides constantly. I said, fine, I'll write a book. And I came out to my office, and everybody was sitting out here, and I said, I have to write a book. And they said, well, what's it going to be about? And I said, I don't know. And they said, well, what are you going to call it? I said, Forget the Cures, Find the Cause.
There you go.
So 10 days later, the book was done. And it sold very well. And it's the 7 keys. So there's making sure that you have safe water, the right supplementation, that your body is aligned, that your mind is in the right place, that your spirit is also filled with positive energy, and et cetera. And you put all those things together and you have homeostasis or balance in your life. And if you get out of balance, you can get back into balance much more quickly. So that's basically where holistic health and I come from. You want to talk about?
Well, I started. Once Obamacare, I've slowly, between my politics, been studying natural herbs, medicines. I studied vitamin D3 for a while, and because I have osteoporosis, I looked at D3 and this, that, and the other. And then I have a friend that's a herbalist, and she makes her own salves out of natural, like plantain and chickweed and all kinds of stuff. And so I've talked to her quite a bit. And then we discovered industrialized hemp not too long ago, and I had looked into the actual medical marijuana a couple of years ago, but it's just kind of far out there and not easy to obtain. But I had read about cannabinoids and different things, and now over the last few weeks I've learned a lot more about it. And you can I've learned that there's a hemp called CBD, and it is not anything like marijuana, but it has more medicinal benefits. Is that what you're getting out of it?
Well, there's a lot I'm getting out of it, but I have to go back to what you said first.
Okay.
Because and this is not a criticism of any kind, but I want people to stop thinking the way you were just thinking.
Mm-hmm.
When you said,
well, that's how I was talking about how I started, like learning it all or studying it.
Don't get defensive.
I'm not.
What I'm saying is, what people say is because we've been indoctrinated this way, we've been trained this way, to think about, well, I studied D3 because I have osteoporosis.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but that's because the reason that how do I say this the right way? The reason that we start looking at D3 or B12 or maybe I should take calcium or maybe I should take this is because we believe that there's a cure for the symptom.
Right, but see, that came from me being a nurse, too, because as a nurse, I was indoctrinated into the medicine part of it or whatever. But
sure. That's
kind of where I started, but it's led me much further down the road, I'll have to say that.
Sure. I understand. Excuse my cough. Like I said, you can talk all you want, but I think if I don't keep talking, I'm going to lose my voice completely. So, but anyway, the reason I'm coming from there is because I don't want people to look at CBD as what does it cure,
right,
or what symptom is it going to take care of, because we've trained to look at symptoms instead of finding the cause, and it won't take care of symptoms. But of course, osteoporosis is not. It's a diagnosis, but all a diagnosis is a description of a symptom. That's all it is. It doesn't mean anything else. It's a description of what a test and a doctor has told you they saw. And then they know that according to whatever, they're supposed to give you something for that symptom.
Right.
Whether it's, something that's supposed to rebuild your bones or take away the pain or whatever. Instead of looking at where osteoporosis comes from, what's the cause of it? The very first cause is inflammation from being out of balance. Okay? That's the very first cause. That's where you start. We have calcium in our bones, in the medullary cavity of our bones, and God put it there for a reason. First of all, to give us strength and durability and be able to walk upright. But second of all, whenever we have an inflamed joint or an inflamed muscle or whatever, if we don't have the calcium within our cells or our muscles, we will pull it from our bones to go right to that spot and take care of the inflammation. And what it forms is a little white encapsulation around a joint. And then on an X-ray, they say, oh, you have arthritis. See, it's on your joints. That's actually calcium, trying to protect us from hurting it anymore. Because, okay, we fell down and it hurts and blah, blah, blah. So we send calcium there right away. The body says, send out the troops. We got to go protect it because otherwise she's going to break it.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't want that. So we send it out. Now, if we don't take care of that inflammation, if we don't get rid of the inflammation that started all this in the first place, you're going to be pulling calcium from your bones for your whole life. By the time you get to be 50 or 60, you've got brittle bones and osteoarthritis because you don't have anything left inside your bones because you didn't take care of the inflammation. So I start way back at the beginning. Okay, now hemp, when you get into hemp and CBD.
Raina, keep talking. I got to plug my phone in just in case I lose you. I want you to go. Go ahead and talk.
Don't worry, no problem. I can keep talking. Those people who are listening are probably saying she never shuts up, but that's what she told me to do. So there. So now that she's gone, she said just keep talking, and then
okay.
Anyway,
I plugged it in. Well, I'm having lots of technical difficulties tonight, but we'll get through it.
So when we get to hemp that you wanted to talk about, CBD is a part of hemp. It's not separate. Cannabis is cannabis the world around, although it's made different ways and it has been cultivated differently in the United States. When people have used cannabis for thousands of years as for all kinds of things, for clothes and paper, and actually the Declaration of Independence was written on hemp. Okay, it was mandated by the government at one point to grow hemp, for farmers to grow hemp, so that we had ropes for the ships and clothes for the sailors for World War II and World War I. And then the pharmaceutical companies and the big corporations said, no, we don't want them to do that anymore because we can make a big buck off people being sick. And and the pharmaceutical industry it makes much more money than the oil industry does. But everybody's always after big oil. Go after big pharma. You don't. I had kids that wanted to be pharmaceutical reps because they knew they could make a lot of money.
And
pass
out pens.
They make money by keeping us sick. I mean, that's called job security. The pharmaceutical companies are never going to pass out drugs that make us well, so that we're never sick again, because they go out of business. So they pass out drugs that treat a symptom, which has nothing to do with the cause. And then that causes another symptom, which they need another drug for. And being a veteran, being a person who's had to fight with the VA for the last several years, and if you think the newest VA scandal is limited to a few places, you're out of your mind. I mean, if I could tell you what they did to me at the VA, that's a whole other program. And now I have no records. They suddenly got lost or stolen or burned or shredded or something. But prior to that, they thought I was an alcoholic. Every time I walked in, they'd say, "Oh, when did your last drink?" First thing they asked me. Now, I don't drink, and I don't use drugs. But one time, we lost 17 friends of ours in one day in Vietnam, and we were restricted to the barracks for the whole weekend, so we all got a little drunk. And that day, that went down on the record, and I've been an alcoholic ever since.
Wow.
Yeah. One of the things I also saw at the VA is the first time I went in for orientation at Pensacola Outpatient Clinic. I was in with just all men. There's very few women vets. I mean, there just aren't. But so I think there are about 30 men in the room or so, and they're getting talked to about how the center works and blah blah blah. And they all have little satchels or briefcases with them, and I'm like, geez, are they all professional people or what? I mean, they're staying overnight. I didn't know what was going on. And after the other people left, I started talking to these guys, and they opened these things up, and they had 30 or 40 prescriptions.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what they came there for. They'd go see the doctors, they get all the tests, and they go get another prescription. And they get another one. And now they have them mailed to their houses.
Right.
Sometimes you have to pay for them, but it's all prescription stuff. So hemp was and has been used for thousands of years as a medicinal plant. It has all these properties to it that are very medicinal, just like most of the weeds that we have out in our yards that we mow down, chop down, and spray with, weed killers that are really, really causing a problem.
Like dandelion and plantain and all those different things.
Look at dandelions. My God, I'm originally from the Northeast. I'm down in Alabama now, but I grew up southwest of Buffalo, New York. Mm-hmm. And the springtime right now, the dandelions are everywhere. And there's a reason for it. I used to ask my neighbors if they were going to mow them down. I said, could I please go pick them? Because I make dandelion omelets and dandelion tea and dandelion in your salads, and they thought I was crazy. Well, God made dandelions because it's one of the best blood cleansers there are, next to burdocks, which nobody will go pick. And they come out in the spring because we've spent the winters mostly hibernating, not being as active or warm, not eating the same foods because they aren't being harvested. So, of course, when spring comes and everything starts to bloom, you're supposed to cleanse your body, and that's why the dandelions are there. But hemp hemp used to grow everywhere. It still does in many places. It still grows. But so when you look at cannabis, you have to look at the plant in three ways. Marijuana mostly comes from the leaves. Okay, that has the high THC content. The whole plant has both THC and CBD. Okay, but the stalk and the seeds have very scant, if any, THC, because the CBD will actually block it out, whereas the leaves have very little CBD because of the opposite effect. The THC is psychoactive, which actually goes to a receptor in your brain. It's a cell, remember? In every cell, there are receptors. That's how it knows how to attract and repel what's supposed to come to it. It's little magnets. So it has a little receptor up there that acts like a magnet. CB1 it goes to the psychoactive part of the brain. It doesn't actually go to brain stems. That's why you can't overdose on marijuana. But it does go to the cells, and it attracts them, and it causes a psychoactive event, which means you might get giddy or you feel high. You just feel so relaxed that you're out in nowhere land. Whereas CBD goes to the C2 receptor, which is immunoactive. And the C2 receptors actually tell the brain, hey, this is part of what we have in our bodies. We have cannabinoids in our bodies already. We have a whole system of cannabinoids in our body. It's actually called ECS.
Yeah, I never knew that until I started studying this.
Yeah, ECS, the ECS system is within us, but it gets blocked by a whole bunch of stuff that's putting that black tape on it again, so we don't know how to heal. When we become so inflamed and so acidic that the receptors shut down and our bodies start going into disease. So what the CBD does is actually go to those receptors and bring us back into balance, homeostasis. It says, look, I'm going to help you sleep. I'm going to help you relax. I'm going to be anti-inflammatory and get rid of the inflammation in your body over time. It doesn't happen like, take 5 milligrams in a can of kick or something and you're fine. It doesn't work that way. Excuse me. I need to drink some water here. Go ahead and talk for a second.
All right. I have Gail on the phone. I'm going to open up her mic. She may have a question or something. So, Gail, I see your little hand raised, so I'm going to open it up and see what question you have. Gail, is that you?
Yeah, it's me. I like what she's saying about the cannabinoids and things, especially finding the cause of things. And we know that with Chuck and his Parkinson's, finding the cause has really been a problem, especially, the drugs are not working.
Yeah, Chuck is my brother. He's had Parkinson's since he was 31, and they've
27.
27, and it's not doesn't run in our family or anything, so we never knew why he got it.
And what happened when he was 27?
Yeah, he was diagnosed at 28, but he had tremors and things when I met him.
But what happened when he was 26 or 27? Has anybody ever sat down and said, what were you doing then? Where were you living? What were you drinking?
See, because I didn't know him, before 27, and but I can see pictures of him like in his senior prom that I've seen, and his hand is doing the same thing that it done when I met him, which is what they call, one of the symptoms of his Parkinson's, and it's just, I don't know, it's like you said, you've got to sit down and you'd have to talk to him because I wouldn't know the answers, but I know that the medicines don't work. And he did have the deep brain surgery, and the first one most certainly didn't work. Judge, I can tell you he wasn't walking. I was pushing him around in a makeshift, wheelchair for a little while, and then we bought a wheelchair, and then his brother, Bo, brought him one of those hoop-around things so he could get around in the house. Yeah, but the medicines aren't working, and that's, I don't like it. That, he can take something and he tenses up and freezes, and his eyes shut involuntarily.
He had, which brain surgery did he have? I mean, what did they do to him?
They put in 4 electrodes down into the different parts of the brain behind the eyes, because it messes up one of the eyes. I know that. On each side of each lobe.
Control the tremors, basically, is what it does.
I couldn't hear you.
Yeah.
Cut out.
It's some kind of electric device to control tremors.
Yeah.
How much
It's,
sense does that
you know, give so many flashes. You know, you're supposed to do so many flashes per millisecond and such to keep him going. But it is for the tremors and so that he can walk, and he can walk pretty good now. I mean, he has a walker still.
Have you done any alternative health things at all?
No, we haven't. This is the first that I've ever known about, you know, like cannabinoids and things. You know, the things that some of his friends have sent me have all been medical, which I can find in, you know, at the doctor's office.
So if
which
Michael
is the
J.
same
Fox,
thing.
if Michael J. Fox had listened to me, he wouldn't have had his surgery, and he'd be better today. And a lot of my friends tried to get him to listen to me. But you should. There's different things you can do, and of course, without seeing him, talking to him, and looking in his eyes and all that, I'm not going to prescribe, and I don't.
And I do know that my mother's father was raised on a reservation in Oklahoma, and so he most certainly taught his kids, you know, different things about plants and what they were good for. And I knew that he could look into your eyes and tell what was wrong. And I met a man when I was 35 that looked into mine, and he seen the cancers in my own body and told me they were there. It scared me to death, but
iridology.
He cleaned them. He told me exactly which ones they were.
Yeah,
took years for the doctors to find them.
You study the 7 layers of the eyes. It should take an iridologist a good 7 years to learn it. And it is the window to everything that's happened to you and everything that's already going to happen to you. You can see it going on in your eyes. But the point is that there are a lot of alternative things that he can do, and hemp or the CBD oil actually will help the brain reattach where it needs to, if it can. That's all I can say about that. I can't say it will. I can't say it should. I can say that if it needs to, it can do that. Okay?
I'm doing that.
It has to be in a little higher dose than what it, but that isn't all that he should be doing. He should be getting reflexology. Do you know what that does?
No.
Okay, that's just, he can just sit there and get his feet worked on by a good reflexologist, because we walk on the earth, right? We're supposed to walk on the earth, and all the energy from the earth is supposed to come up through us and up to heaven and back down through us and back to the earth again. That's not being a conduit of light. All of the things that happen to us settle in our feet and block those energy centers from coming through us. So what reflexology does is break that up, and it uses like an on-off switch. That's the movement of the thumb on the foot surfaces. It goes back and forth. They actually thumb walk. And when you do the thumb walk, you're turning different parts of that foot on and off, basically. If you look at the bottom of each foot, there's a map to the whole body there. Because we're actually like origami paper. If you make a fist and we open up, you know, our heads actually are attached to the base of our bodies also. That's where it came from. So we're this whole connected person. So reflexology actually works on the hands and the feet to open up those channels of energy and free some of that stuff. So you do that. You use cannabinoid hemp oil or whatever in whatever form you're going to, and you also have to make sure that you have good water.
Yeah, because I do believe that.
If you don't have good, safe water, and people say, oh, I've got a well, it's safe. Really? Look up in the sky and see what's being sprayed down on your ground that's going into your well, and let me know how that well is every 5 minutes, because it changes. You know, I've had a whole house water system for 15 years now, and I studied it. I researched it for more than, you know, I think it took me 6 or 7 to find a water system that acted like the earth does, to clean the water correctly and has KDF filters. That's what lightning does, to break up the iron.
I do know that. I lost kidney to cancer, and let me tell you, you go somewhere and the water's different. Even if you buy a different bottle of water, it reacts negatively in my body.
Yeah, well, you have to kind of put it all together, and when you put it all together, there's no saying now that the doctors have infiltrated his body that he will be ever 100%. But there's a way to get him up to whatever percentage he is capable of becoming now by using methods that are not prescription drugs. Why would you add another drug to the body when what the body then has to do in the liver is start to clear all that out because it's toxic? And so now the liver's busy and the pancreas is busy and everybody else gets busy, and how the hell is the body supposed to heal then?
Listen, everybody, hang on a second, because I want everybody to write this down so they can listen to this YouTube later. It's from a medical doctor who, I guess you might say, saw the light and got frustrated with modern medicine and started doing his own research into cannabidiols and cannabinoids, and he's using that in his practice. So you can find us on YouTube. You put in the search bar, Herb Day Online, Dr. John Hicks III.
Okay, I've got that link. I just haven't moved it today.
So everybody else, write that down so y'all can look it up later. YouTube, Herb Day Online, Dr. John Hicks III. Basically, he started using cannabidiols and cannabinoids in his practice. Pediatrics and chronic illness is his specialty. So everybody look at that later tonight or tomorrow, and because he's got a lot of good information that he's dealing with. He deals with seizure patients, chronic illness, inflammation, diabetes, and all kinds of different things. And he can, as a doctor, he can give you more details about how it works in his practice.
Okay.
But anyway,
because you have to remember that doctors, first thing they do is, if you read this stuff, is with Parkinson's, should pass 53, was that another less than 10 years from now, and I just don't believe that it can just kill him like that. Much less, I think that his son, now the doctor's worried about his son. It could be passed down. There's no history of it in either side of the family. So I'm real interested in the hemp, definitely.
Keep plugging along. Hey, Gil, I'm gonna put you on. I'm gonna put you on hold because I got another caller. But don't hang up.
Okay.
I'm just gonna put you on hold. You can still listen, okay?
What you want, though? Can I, before you get the other caller? I just want to say, be interested in the hemp, but it's the CBD oil that you're looking for. You're looking for CBD-rich oil. And the oil is the blood of the plant. Everybody has heard by now something about essential oils, and I do essential oils also, but I don't do them like most people do. And they say, oh, this oil is good for this, and this oil is good for that. Every oil, every part of every plant has a vibration, just like we do. Every part of our body has a vibration. It has a frequency. We have colors. Colors have frequencies. We are music, actually. Music is the highest form of communication that we have as human beings. When we sing, when we talk, that's music. That's a vibration. It's a frequency. If our frequency goes down below, I think it's, 186 or 115 megahertz or something, we're on our way to death. So we want to keep our frequencies high. We want to raise our energy levels as much as possible. We want to reach for heaven as much as we can. So what we eat, what we ingest, what we breathe, what we drink, all has a frequency. And if those frequencies are negative, if they're full of pesticides and preservatives, they bring our frequencies down. That's what makes us sick. The essential oils come from the heart of the plant. It's the blood of the plant. Herbs are the plant dried out, which still work, and they're very good in different forms. But oils are the blood of the plant. It's the life force of the plant. So we use oils. We can use, oregano oil will get rid of black mold in your lungs if you're taken correctly. But that's not what oregano's for. It's to raise the vibration so the mold can't survive there, and to get rid of the inflammation that's causing the mold to grow in the first place. So when you think of cannabinoids, when you think of CBD oil, you want something that's rich and high quality to raise the vibration of your body and attach to those receptors in a way that lets your body know it's time to heal, so it can, so that it lowers that inflammation level. It lowers your blood pressure. It's a vasodilator, so it lets your blood flow. It lets the life forces come through you. It doesn't cause it to happen. It allows it to happen so that we can self-heal. Okay, go ahead, Joe. I'm sorry.
Cindy, I'm going to open your mic in just a second, but the CBD, from what it's called Nature's Supplement. Now, I wanted to read one little excerpt from some stuff I've been reading. It says, what is CBD? It's a cannabidiol, and it's by far the most studied natural cannabinoid. This amazing non-psychoactive cannabis compound has also been shown in clinical settings to help relieve seizures, have strong antioxidant properties, reduce inflammation, stop or reverse cell damage, ease anxiety and lower blood pressure, induce cell death in certain cancers. In fact, thousands of peer-reviewed studies indicate that CBD possesses almost unbelievable clinical potential. Now, it is a natural supplement. It's called nature's supplement. It is not considered a medicine or anything like that. The next person we have online is a friend of mine named Cindy. She's an RN. We've worked together in the past, and she's also been studying homeopathic, holistic type, different areas of the same kind of stuff I've looked at and that you, of course, know a lot about. So I'm going to open Cindy's mic. Cindy, is that you? Hey, Cindy. Cindy, meet Raina.
Hi, Raina.
I think I know you.
You may not.
Okay, then.
How do you know me?
I don't know. I felt the vibration as soon as she said your name, so I said, maybe I know this girl.
Okay.
There's two Cindys.
I know. This is
Cindy W.
I know.
Oh, okay.
We may have met sometime because I have really been doing a lot of research. I may have written to you or something like that. What JoJo didn't tell everybody is one of the reasons that I've done so much research is because I have Crohn's disease and my son has Crohn's disease. And I have a mild to moderate case of Crohn's disease, but he has a moderate to severe case of Crohn's disease. When he was 15, he almost died. He got down to below 90 pounds. And at that time, I realized, and even though I'm a nurse, I realized that the medical profession really couldn't help him that much. And so I have been searching for ways to help him to stay as healthy as possible. I truly feel when he was around 11, he had to have and I missed part of the call because I had some business I had to take care of. I'm sorry. You may have already gone over this. I think I had to stop right when you were talking about all the immunizations you got when you went overseas. But he had immunizations at the age of 11, and I think that's what tripped him or triggered his body into the Crohn's disease. I really do, because that's when he was diagnosed, when he was between 11 and 13, around 12. And I really do think that it just like flipped a switch in his body. And we've been fighting it ever since. So I was really excited when JoJo told me about the new sites and everything, because I really truly didn't realize that you could buy it and bring it into the country legally. And we're trying to do everything that we can to stay as legal as possible. So I'm real hopeful and real excited about this, that this will help him.
Can I talk a little bit about the legality for a minute? Because I've had people saying, oh, this isn't legal and all. No, remember, it's not legal in the United States. Well, industrial hemp is, okay? And the way this is happening is, at one point, Richard Nixon outlawed all cannabis, which meant hemp.
Right.
Meant
and
CBD oil.
part of what that was the tree industry and the petroleum industry bought him.
Yeah. And
got him to do that.
I know. We all know the politicians are bought. Every single one of them. Doesn't matter what party they're in.
Right.
But now the new Farm Bill, which I disagree with. I didn't like the new Farm Bill because a lot of stuff in it. But the new Farm Bill, unfortunately, or fortunately for us, opens it back up to the states to go ahead and okay hemp cultivation. And that's why it is now legal. Okay?
Right.
So it wasn't legal before. It wasn't legal before February of last year. But it became more legal, and each state, as a matter of fact, Hawaii just passed all their laws and said, yep, you can grow hemp again, no problem. But that's going to open up a whole other can of worms, and we all know that, because a lot of people who cultivate these things, it's just like essential oils, you know. Young Living has the best essential oils out there. They're highly therapeutic grade. I've gone through all of the analysis of them. But other companies who wanted to copy them water down the oils, and then everybody thinks they're getting the same vibration or frequency from those oils, and they're not. But so we're going to have the same thing happen with CBD oil, and it's already happening. You can go on Amazon and buy CBD oil all you want, but it won't probably do what you want it to do, and it's probably not safe if it doesn't come from the right countries. So you have to be very careful about where you're getting your CBD oil. And so I've done the research on that also. You don't want CBD oil from China. Right. CBD, actually, hemp itself, if you ever looked at the consistency of hemp oil, it's like gooey, tarry stuff. So how do you get this nice, clear oil out of that? Well, you have to do a whole lot of processing to do that without damaging it. And what some companies will do is use heat. Well, now you just destroyed most of the properties. It's just like cooking your vegetables. You don't want to do that because most of the properties of the vegetables are gone. They might taste better because they're soft with butter on them, but guess what? You just lost the whole nutrient value of it. So you want to really be careful. There's only I did just, and Joe is too, part of a company called Canway that is I've done the research on, and they've spent $70 million of research and development in products that are CBD rich, that are also safe and come from the right places. And they're incorporating that CBD oil into many products now that they offer, whether that's in, they actually are coming out with capsules that have 25 to 28 milligrams of hemp oil in each capsule, which is a pretty good dose for somebody who just wants to get well. Somebody with cancer might want to take 2 or 3 of those a day. I don't know, up to 150 milligrams or more. But they've got the good oils. They've got them in energy chews. They've got them in a hemp vape so that you can inhale the hemp, the CBD oil through the vapors, which goes through the lungs and helps the lungs to come back into balance, and it fights the cancer cells that might be in the lungs. I can't say it fights cancer legally because I am a holistic health consultant and professional. I can say it could. I can say it might. I can say why not try?
Or you could say, or we can say we have a whole lot of research and data you can read and decide for yourself.
Exactly.
Right.
And we have that. And this particular company, I don't promote a lot of companies. Now, earthwalk-usa.com has been a .com company for 18 years or longer. Earthwalk itself, my company, has been around for over 30 years. And Earthwalk actually comes from my history of walking the earth as part Native American from my grandmothers, who said, little one, you're going to walk the earth and you're going to do what you came here to do. So my company became Earthwalk. But the website's been there forever, and there's products on there. I mean, there's Life Force International is on there. They're the only liquid vitamin that I recommend. I will recommend for Crohn's disease. My one daughter, I've raised 11 kids. My youngest got Crohn's disease because she didn't tell me what was going on, and we had to get rid of that right away before she could have her baby. And that wasn't too hard to get rid of. She was actually advanced stages of it. She was in horrible pain. But we have to get rid of the inflammation first. So we went to the colon, and I got her on George's aloe vera and made her take that every day to get rid of the inflammation. I changed what water she was drinking. I sent her to a chiropractor and sent her to me to realign her body, because what actually had happened was that she had fallen and I didn't know it. She didn't feel like she was hurt, but she actually misaligned the lower, right near L3, L1 and L3, the lower lumbar of her back, which actually goes to the colon as far as the spinal nerves go, the colon and the legs. Excuse me. I tell you, I'm not making any phone calls tomorrow.
Well, I have to say, if all these fallings hurt people, I've got to be a holy mess, because I got thrown from a horse and wrecked a lawnmower and like to twisted my arm off 3 years ago. So I know I'm totally out of alignment.
Oh, sure. And alignment is important. You know, the spine isn't just isn't just our past and where we get our courage from. It isn't just what holds us up. All those spinal nerves are little wires, Christmas tree. They connect to every part of our body. And if you pull a plug half out of a plug, you're going to get some sparking, or you're going to get a light that goes off and on, or you're going to get a light that doesn't come on at all. So if you line that plug back up to the receptacle, all of a sudden you've got light again. And that's how easy it is to think about. A chiropractor doesn't move your bones. He does adjust the bones because he's working on the spinal nerves. He wants the spinal nerves to be able to connect and work the way they're supposed to. It's your whole electrical system. So if you've fallen, if you sleep wrong, if you've got the wrong pillow, if you've you're sitting by a computer all the time and you're pushing your neck forward and you've got, C7 and T1 are starting to fuse because you sit there for so long, you've just cut off the circulation of electricity to portions of your body. And you may not notice it right away. Your eyes might get tired.
Well, without an alignment, the CBD will still help inflammation and all these other problems, though, right?
Oh, sure. You want the CBD, but I'm never going to say, JoJo, just do that and that's going to fix everything. Never.
Oh, no, I understand.
It's always holistic in nature, and that's the way I approach this business. It's the way I approach CBD. It's the way I approach my profession. That we are a whole picture. We're never just a name on a mailbox. We're much more than that. And you have to look at everything that's going on. The CBD is a natural supplement, and it's a supplement, okay? It's not the all, be-all of everything. It's a supplement to what else we're doing. So, yes, it'll lower the inflammation. It'll do all the things that it says it does. But if you keep knocking your body around and you don't have it aligned and you're not taking care of your teeth and you're not drinking the right water, it might not do as much as you think it's going to. Because you're fighting it is what you're doing. Here it's trying to help you, and we're doing everything possible to stop it from helping us. So we have to change our lifestyles a little bit and look at the alignment of the spine and what we're drinking and those kinds of things at the same time. Now, will it help it's going to help something. It's like you use the hemp vape from Canaway it has 1 milligram of CBD oil in the hemp vape, okay? Well, people will suck on that and they'll go to sleep, and they'll sleep like they've never slept before. They just sleep. They're so relaxed, okay? And people say, well, but what's that doing? Well, if they were smokers, for instance, and they wanted to quit smoking, why not smoke that instead and get the benefits of the hemp? If they are nervous or anxious a lot because they're under a lot of stress or they believe they are, then you can't, pull out a whiskey bottle, or you shouldn't, or a cigarette or whatever that you have now become addicted to or as a comfort food for your stress or anxiety. But you can go puff on this a couple times and calm yourself down. You're still getting the benefits of the hemp, which is a positive thing. That's not the be-all, end-all. And 1 milligram of hemp in a vapor, you'd have to smoke that whole thing real fast to get any benefit over a couple of days. You'd have to smoke it consistently. And one of the things that CBD does is once it attaches to the receptors, it keeps making that pattern within your brain and within your body, and it learns. And as you keep doing it consistently, using that hemp oil, that re-triggers and regrows what needs to happen to get your body back to health again. Does that make sense?
Every time you say that, I picture a golf swing. Because that's the way it works when you're learning a golf swing. Is your body, it's repetition, and that's how you perfect your golf swing.
Well, and vision. Do you ever see the movie The Legend of Bagger Vance? You have to be part of the fairway. I can talk kind of anything. You have to become part of the fairway. And when you become part of that fairway, your swing becomes natural and it becomes your swing. And when you find your swing, you got a hole in one, But you're not going to be always. You're going to be off balance just a little bit once in a while. You're never going to get, 18 holes in one. You're not going to do that. But you're going to come close. And that's what we want to do is put a little target up there and say, okay, my son has Crohn's disease. What can I do to get him better than he is now? Is it going to be 100%? I don't know. Part of that's up to him because he has to believe and he has to work at it and he has to say, I will be well. When we tell God or our angels or whatever you believe in, when we say, I'm sick, God never turns you down. He goes, okay, you want to be sick? Fine. You're sick. But when we start saying, I'm well, I love me, I am well, I'm going to walk, I can walk, I am walking, you're going to walk. Your body will listen to you. Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Well, can we touch on the immune system a little bit? Because the cannabinoids are supposed to be really good receptors on your immune system, and they seem to play a big role in immunity too, correct?
Absolutely. And what is immunity? It's the body's ability to defend against anything that pulls it out of balance. Mm-hmm. So what it does is it's immunoactive rather than psychoactive. So it tells the brain receptors that, okay, there's a pathogen or there's an allergen that's attacking the body. It gives it more strength. It gives your body more strength because of because of everything, because of the lower, inflammation and everything else, to build the army. And it says, hey, we got enough troops on hand right here. Just go down there and get rid of that. Whereas most of the time, the immune system, we don't have enough army there at all. No, people don't have enough probiotics in their system. They've stopped making some of the enzymes that they need to digest things, and so when these pathogens and allergens get into our bodies, there's nobody there to protect us. It's much like what's happening with our military forces now. They're being depleted. There's nothing and nobody there to protect us. So what this does is build that military force, not as an aggressive, proactive, whatever, but just as somebody on the wall that says there's something attacking, and the CBD oil actually works with the brain receptors to say the immune system's being attacked. Let's go take care of it. It does it very gracefully. It does it nicely. Just says, you're not coming in. I'm getting rid of you. So it will. I have seen it work with people with allergies. They don't have allergies after a few weeks. They're gone. With Crohn's disease, you've got to get rid of the inflammation in the colon. The colon is actually the base of our immune system, the colon and the spleen. If you got something going on in that colon, I guarantee you that you're going to have some kind of problems elsewhere in your body. If you get rid of the problems in the colon, the other problems go away.
Right.
I'll have people, I actually have a friend who had an animal. Now, you can use this with animals and children, okay? And you can't OD on CBD oil, by the way. You can't overdose, just like you can't overdose on probiotics. These are good things for the body. The body, what it doesn't need, it won't use until it does. That's the way that works. But I had somebody with a dog who had cancer, and, of course, they tried oral stuff. They tried rubbing the salve on the dog, and the dog wasn't getting better. And I said, you put that stuff right up its butt because it needs to get into the colon, to go through the rectum and get into the colon as much as you can, because that's where the oil needs to work, and it's not able right now to get through all of the junk that's coming from the throat all the way down through the digestive system to the small intestine to get to the colon.
Cindy and I are emergency room nurses, and we know that the rectal suppositories we had to learn. We learned how to give Ativan rectally during a seizure because you couldn't get an IV line in. So
right.
Well,
and I'm a hospice nurse now.
Yeah.
So we give a lot of rectal medications now because people can't swallow and we don't use IVs. So.
Well, a lot of people with cancer, and I've got guys calling me with cancer. They have AIDS or whatever, and they are using. Actually, they're using the whole cannabis plant. They're using the THC also. That's why it's medical marijuana. They're using the whole cannabis plant oils, and they are doing suppositories to kill their cancers. And what happens is it actually the CBD oil with cancer cells. They make the cancer cells self-destruct. Mm-hmm. So it's been found in NIH studies, et cetera, that if you use CBD oil, it will kill the cancer cells in vitro. So especially with invasive breast cancer, IBC, that because of the fats that are in the breast area and the lymphatic glands, I think that's the reason it works so well there, that the CBD receptors go right there and say, nope, you guys are going to go commit suicide. That's it. You're done. And you'll actually see under a microscope, you'll see one side all the cancer cells, and the other side you see them actually almost looking at each other. These cells, and they pop, and they're dead.
And then it actually helps the good cells.
It never hurts them.
It kind of rejuvenates the good cells and reboots them, so to speak.
Yeah, it's very protective of the good cells because it is a cell receptor, and it knows it's supposed to be that. And so it actually is the protector again. It says, no, you're not going to hurt me. It's like looking in the mirror. This to me is, I'm very passionate about CBD oil because if you go back to my story about my grandmothers, my last of my 7 grandmothers just died about a month ago. Mm-hmm. She was 106.
Wow.
All of my grandmothers died over the age of 100. Now, they never went to doctors. I have not been to a doctor in over 47 years. Mm-hmm. I couldn't, when I was reflecting on this last grandmother, her name was Willow, I was telling people, I said, they all lived to be over 100, and they never went to a doctor, never went to a dentist. They all have all their teeth. They used plants and herbs, and their teeth were perfect. I mean, no problem. But I said, what? Why? How could they live so long when they've been through so much stress and they've been through so much hardship, and they've done, they did grow most of their own foods, so that was one thing. But I remember when I was learning earth medicine and I was being taught all the things I was being taught, that I would sit around the fires with them, and they would smoke not the peace pipes. Don't get any stereotypical ideas in your heads about these old grandmothers with long hair dressed all funny smoking peace pipes. That's not who they were. But they did smoke little things that were like pipes. And what they had in the pipes was hemp. And they smoked hemp. They weren't high. They just smoked the hemp because they knew that it was good for them. And they used hemp in salads. They used it like almost for cereals. It's because it's a weed, and they used it like it's, again, back to dandelions. I mean, I will use dandelions as long as I can. I'll freeze them and use them even at Thanksgiving or whatever. But they used the hemp, and I said they smoked hemp all their lives. Of course they lived to be 106. Right. She probably could have lived longer, but the other 6 died. The 2 of them were in an accident. That's how they died. But she probably just said, stop. My work is done. It's time to go. So that actually even got me more passionate about CBD hemp oil. And I said, I've left this out of my whole practice all these years. I have a company now who I believe in and is going to come out with 70,000 more products. It's going to be the leading edge company in getting hemp back into the United States and the United States culture so that we can stop giving up our power to the medical profession, to the pharmaceutical profession, to the GMO industry of Monsanto, so we can start taking charge of our health again and living to be way past 106 without ever having to use Obamacare, without ever having to go back to a doctor. This can help do this, and that's why I'm so passionate about it and want to see the passion in other people and want to teach them. That's why I'm talking when I shouldn't be talking much more, because I will educate until I can't speak another word about the things that we need to do to take charge of our health. Our health is, once people have charge of our health and we lose it, we lose everything else. So we really have to grab hold of these things and say, let me learn, let me help others learn, let me help others get well, not just for me, not just, okay, I've got Crohn's disease or I've got a bad back or I've got this, so I'm going to do this. But I'm not going to tell anybody because they'll think I'm weird because I'm taking hemp. I'm using CBD oil. They'll think I'm on marijuana. They'll think I'm high. I'm an ultra-conservative. I'm not supposed to like cannabis. That's only for the left-wingers and the hippies. That's not for me. And if I do that, it's illegal, right? So I'm not supposed to do it. No, it's totally legal, and it's totally healthy, and it's a good thing to use, and it's being incorporated into products that are now enjoyable. You can, these little chews, these the Canna Kicks from Canaway, they're kind of cute. People remember Starburst candies. They came in the little wrappers, like 12 of them, and you unwrap them, and they were fruity tasting or whatever. This is kind of the same consistency, a little smaller, and they come in different flavors, and they have 5 milligrams of hemp and 100 milligrams of caffeine. Do I agree with caffeine? Sure, a cup of coffee is not going to kill you. It's the people who drink 10 cups a day that have the acidic problems in their bodies. So it has 100 milligrams of caffeine. That's about 3 or 4 hours of energy. Why go out and drink a Red Bull full of all this stuff in it that can harm you when you can have 5 milligrams of hemp and 100 milligrams of caffeine? I popped one of those in my mouth, and it's like, fine. You don't feel anything different. You're not like all of a sudden shaking and running around, but you find out that you had more energy for the afternoon to get through work. I had my neighbor chewed one. I said, try one of the sour apple ones. And she goes to boot camp twice a week, and my friend goes with her, and they came back, and they said, well, did you feel anything? She goes, no. But then my friend said, yeah, but you did the exercises longer than you usually do, because she's only 72. She goes to boot camp twice a week. But that's what's going on with this, and that's why I'm excited about it. But I just don't I want people to be excited about it at the same time. Don't look at it like this miracle cure, because that's going to upset me. It is a miracle because God gave it to us, and it's a weed. And the reason it's a weed and not a plant that has to be cultivated so well, like, our flower gardens or whatever, is so it will be plentiful and available for us so that we start to learn about it and can use it for what we need to use it for. It's not marijuana. It's not.
Yeah, because some of the studies show if you are taking medicinal marijuana with the THC in it, which is like what they're selling in Colorado and in these little marijuana stores or whatever, it actually doesn't help nearly as much as the plain hemp. The industrialized hemp, the CBD, works a whole lot better than the marijuana with the THC.
Yeah.
Is what I understand.
Yeah, you're right. Basically, the reason for that is when the cultivation of hemp was banned and people started growing marijuana, they actually grew strains that are I know people from California who are connoisseurs of this stuff. They come in all colors, they come in all flavors, they come in all these things. Well, they cultivated the plants in a different way, and so there was much higher THC in the plants than there were cannabinoids, whereas the natural plant used to be about 50-50. And then as people started using it, the cannabinoids medicinally, they cultivated it in a way so that it's less THC and more cannabinoids so that you can actually manufacture the CBD oil much easier. But the people who are doing medical marijuana, it's 50-60% THC, which
so you're not getting near the health benefits at all.
Well, you can. I mean, I'm not going to tell you it's not wrong that medical marijuana can help people in very much the same way, but it's illegal and it makes you high. So why do you need to get high to get well? You don't.
No.
You want the immunoactive part of the plant, not the psychoactive part, unless you want.
And let me just bring up one thing, because a lot of people, professional people especially, are worried about a drug test. It says if one ingests CBD-rich hemp oil, will they fail a drug test?
Nope.
It is unlikely. And here's the science. Immunoassays developed to detect THC metabolites usually have certain degrees of cross-reactivity with CBN, which is another cannabinoid, but have minimal or no detectable level of cross-reactivity with the ring-open compounds such as CBD. So basically, they have assays that detect. What they're looking for in drug tests is THC. They're not looking for the CBD. So, and there's go ahead.
Yeah, that's one. The thing is, they're looking for THC. That's one part of it. But do you understand what ring open means?
No, I don't.
If you look at this is chemistry now. When you do remember chemistry class where you had H and then that's connected to O and then that's connected to CH and then the 2 and blah. Anyway, ring open means that there's a ring and it's open at one end, and that's because that CBD is not a drug. It's not a it doesn't affect the part of the brain that is going to make you react like a drug would. So it doesn't show up on, there's two ways that they test for THC, or they test for drugs. One of them is, what are they called? Oh, God. There's one of the ways that they do it is the wrong way because they use heat. And they heat up the substance to see whether or not it has these properties. Of course, you're destroying all the properties constantly as the heat changes, so they're not getting a true reading. So they use this other thing that's like a, God, I just lost the name of it, but it's a different process where they actually test for the open ring, and they, what's it called? Well, one of you people out there are going to know, but anyway.
I know. Basically, in a nutshell, it will not show up in a drug test is what we're getting at.
Right.
Make long story short.
I'm just trying to help people understand that if they go for a drug test, tell them you don't want the one, you want the other one, because the one that they do, and I will find it, it's basically the heat test, and that's not a true test. That's like when they test your thyroid, and they never really do. They don't test the thyroid at all. We know that. God, I guess I wish I could find it. Yeah. Anyway, you want? Oh, I know. Okay. What the GC, the GC test. And I can't give you the long word for that. That uses the heat. What you want is the HPLC. The HPLC is like a chromatograph. It looks at the whole part of the substance and says, nope, that there's no THC in here of any kind, because there's 7 different kinds of THC. THCA, THCGB, THCB, TH whatever, and there's 3 or 4 different kinds of cannabinoids, but the cannabinoids are okay because they always come back to CBD. You might have CBDA when it's the acidic part of the oil, but once it's processed and once it gets into itself, I guess is the way it is, the acid goes away and it becomes CBD again.
And we have naturally occurring cannabinoids in our body anyway.
Yeah, we have a whole cannabinoid system. It's just been depleted. It gets depleted by all the stuff we do to ourselves. That energy system is gone. So this actually just enhances it, encourages it, puts its arm around. It says, come on, the cannabinoid oil is kind of a love potion number 9. I want to come back and help you get well again.
Well, how will this help thyroid problems? A lot of older women have thyroid problems, and
Remember the thyroid problem. Remember this, first of all. The thyroid is the third ovary, whether you're female or male. Mm-hmm. We're all a percentage of both male and female energy to begin with. The thyroid is the third ovary. A lot of times thyroid problems come from the adrenal exhaustion that we all cause in our bodies. Adrenal exhaustion comes from being overstressed and not taking care of ourselves. So what happens is when the adrenals shut down, they signal the new manager. They signal the thyroid and say, you take over. Well, the pituitary is up there in the top of the head trying to say, no, I'm the big boss, but the thyroid doesn't know what he's doing. And we have managers at work that we know how this works. But anyway, so that's the third ovary. So if there's a hormone imbalance going on in the body, which often there is at different times of our lives, male or female, then the thyroid tries to balance the hormones, and it can't. So you have underactive or overactive hormones. But when they do the thyroid test, they're only doing the T4 tests. Right. They don't actually go into the whole thyroid and the parathyroid, which is right behind it. And so they don't see all the hormone imbalances. I would tell people if they have a thyroid problem, the first thing they want to do is go get a hormone scan. And that is not the little scan that they do that has 5 different panels, but a whole hormone panel. It's going to show you how low all the different hormone levels are. And then I can actually send you a chart. It comes from a man named, Dr. Purser, who in the chart, you can take it to your doctor and say, I want my hormone levels up to this level. And once they can find the ways to do that, you can use essential oils, you can use Idaho Blue Spruce from Young Living, helps to balance your hormones. There's lots of different things you can use to get the hormone levels back what they're supposed to be, and they're not radical changes. You see the changes, but they're not radical. You don't grow hair on your chest if you're a woman or whatever. It's just balancing those hormones again so that your thyroid can get back in balance. The third thing is to check what's going on with the neck, because if the cervicals are out of alignment, again, or pushed forward anteriorly, it will affect the thyroid, especially at C7T1. And the reason a lot of women are having that problem is because of the way they sit at work and the way they sit at the computer and the way they look at their iPhones and the way they used to feed their kids. When they breastfed, they would bend their heads down and cock them to one side and knock the cervicals totally out of alignment.
I was kind of more talking along the line of, I was kind of go ahead.
No, sex does this too. I've had women in bad shape because their pelvises are totally knocked out of alignment from sex. The pubic bone is actually 3 parts, and the pubic bone gets pushed into a place that just makes the uterus go bananas, and the uterus sits back against 2 ligaments at the base of the spine near the sacrum, and when those ligaments get overstretched or tighter or whatever because the uterus is out of alignment, that also causes a hormone imbalance, which then shows up as a thyroid problem. So you want to find the cause, is where I'm coming from again.
Well, I understand, but I have some friends that live in the Gulf area, same kind of the area you live in, and a lot of them have thyroid tumors, and their thyroids just aren't working at all, basically.
That's the correct.
Well, that's what I think it is, too. But, it's going to take a lot more research. Have you seen a lot of other people in the Gulf with thyroid tumors in the last 2 or 3 years?
Yeah, but, yes, mostly the tumors are not cancerous. Thyroids
some are, some aren't.
Mostly they aren't active, and you can just do a hot, cold test on the thyroid to see if it's producing hormones and where that's coming from. But one of the things that gets rid of tumors, this does. The CBD oil will reduce tumors, and it's been proven that it does reduce tumors in many areas. Not all areas of the body. It depends on what else is going on. So the other thing you want to do is make sure that your enzymes are where they're supposed to be, like CoQ10. CoQ10 will get rid of tumors. If you use CoQ10 with the cannabinoid oil, then there's a real good chance that tumors are going to disappear. the tumors are probably coming from the toxicity from the Corexit that was dumped in the Gulf during the Gulf oil spill several years ago. And by the way, the oil is still there.
Yeah. And the Corexit too, probably.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you see all the tumors that are coming up on the fish and
I've seen pictures.
And other wildlife. I mean, it's happening also out in California because of radiation from Fukushima. So you've got a lot of things that cause us to go out of balance and can cause us to go into disease and cause us to die. But we have more things at our fingertips than we realize to bring us back into balance and to fight all that. And MRSA, that's the disease. It's, guess what? CBD oil topically. So the salve, like the defined salve that's in the the defined product line of Canaway.
Right.
Put that topically on, and then guess what? The MRSA disappears.
Well, that'll be a big plus, especially in the nursing field, because you're exposed to MRSA constantly.
That's right.
Right.
Somebody's talking. Is somebody still on there? Is Cindy still on?
Yeah, Cindy said right.
You got any other questions out there? Or?
Well, I've been looking at a lot of the products, and I'm real encouraged. Just like you say, JoJo, we're exposed to MRSA. I have a patient right now that every time I go in her house, she has MRSA, and I just wonder, what her count is and all of that. And by having, like you say, the CBD salve, I can apply that and be less worried about having it on me or even, spreading it anywhere. So
even apply it on her. Have her use it.
Well, that's...
Well, we couldn't do that.
Well, because you're a nurse, well, you just, you know what? I'm a professional, and I don't diagnose and I don't prescribe. But I will say to them, I'm using this on me because this works on me. And then they go out and they find out that it can work on them. That's how you help people. I mean, we're restricted by the medical community because they want to be the ones in charge.
Well, we're restricted by our nursing license. Is what we're restricted by.
Exactly, but that's still the medical community. And the reason that you're restricted is because they want the power to do what they want to do. I mean, that's why women used to get burned at the stake, because they knew how to heal people using herbs and everything, and that made them witches, so they burned them at the stake.
Right.
You're not going to do that anymore. So, nurses, I love nurses. I gave a huge talk at the First Lady's symposium on health in Southern Nevada a few years ago. My whole audience was nurses and doctors, and the nurses broke out in tears because the one thing they wanted to be able to do was to touch people and help them. The doctors fought me all the way. Now, I had doctors come out to me in the lobby afterwards, and several hundred, I don't remember how many, but they came out to me in the lobby afterwards. Two of them came after me. How dare you talk about this and that and the other, and you're not allowed to talk about cancer, and blah, 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 blah. And I just was very calm, and I said, I'll tell you what. You give me 5 of your cancer patients to work on, and I'll give you 5 of mine. And then we'll meet in about 6 months and see how we're doing. And one of them threw his stuff down on the floor, and he stormed away, and his friend stood there looking at me, and I said, well, I guess he didn't like that. And he goes, well, you know why? And I said, no. He says, all of his are dead.
I was going to say, he couldn't share.
That's right. So, I mean, the nurses were like, thank you for coming, because I started out by having them just hug each other.
All right, I'm going to ask, Lynn's got her mic open. Lynn, do we have... Oh, no, that ain't Lynn. I was going to see if we had any questions in the chat room, but I can't get to the chat room, so I guess we don't. I'm afraid to touch anything. I'll mess up everything.
Let me say this, Joe. If people have questions and they want me to respond, put your name in the subject or the name of the show or whatever in the subject line of an email and send me an email. And I will, when I can, respond to as many questions I do every day. I get several hundred emails every single day. I will respond and maybe not give you the answer you want to hear, but I will at least maybe get you on the earth walk to getting to where you need to go. That email address is earthwalk, one word, -USA, because I'm an American, true blue American, at mchsi.com. M like in Michael, C like in Charlie, H like in Harry, S like in Sam, I like in Indian.com. And send me that email and put JoJo or something in the subject line, and I will try to help or answer your questions any way I can.
Okay, so if you're just now getting your pencil out, I'm going to repeat it one more time. Earthwalk-USA at mchsi.com. Did I get it right?
And I also, if you're interested in the company that we are, that JoJo and many actually, I started asking people 2.5 weeks ago, and we're up to almost 100 and something people now, not only so that you can get discounts on the products that Canaway is offering, but also if you want to build a business and help other people learn this, send me that in the email, and I will help you figure out how to do that and find out how to do that. This is going to be a billion-dollar industry. I hate to go into money, but it's going to be, because we're changing the way America is going to deal with health care. Obama actually caused that by doing it, and so did Hillary. You try to push health care down my throat, I'm going to find the best alternatives. I analyzed the health care bill before it ever came out in a podcast. You can go to my podcast on my website, earthwalk-usa.com, and go back to all those podcasts about the health care bill and what was really in it. And you can go read the books. And what I say about the health care industry is that people are going to wise up. They're very slow awakening, but they're going to. And they're going to want to go to alternative health, which was really what mainstream health used to be. Taking care of ourselves, knowing ourselves, medicine, self-knowledge, and knowing what is available to us that doesn't cost an arm and a leg and doesn't change your whole lifestyle so you have to go live in a cave. It's all the stuff that's available to us that God gave us to help us heal ourselves. Nature gave us, to help us heal ourselves. And you know, I'll help you do that any way I can. But I want to take back that power. We give all of our power away to the government, and we don't have to do that.
And just the flip side of that, you know, even if you're just semi-interested, the way Obamacare's going, and from what I've read and what I know about how hospitals work and emergency rooms work, and Obamacare was designed to, so they said, to ease the burden on the emergency room. Well, what it's going to do is it's going to 10 times the volume of an emergency room. So if you actually, you know, are hurt or injured or sick and need to go to the emergency room, I can't even imagine how long you'll have to wait to see a doctor. So the healthier you can stay, you have to be preventative, proactive, and stay healthy so you won't have to go try to seek emergency care. And or depending on your insurance, you're going to lose your doctor, and then you have to try to find a new doctor, and new doctors aren't taking new patients. So the more proactive you can be, the more you can learn about CBD and any other type of holistic medicine or natural medicine, the more you can learn to help yourself and help yourself stay healthy, the better off you're going to be in the long run.
Yep. I've never had health insurance and don't intend to. Don't need to. Not afraid not to have it. Now,
not too afraid either.
I could end up in an accident, but what physicians are originally for were surgeons. They weren't diagnosers. But I could end up being in an accident and having to go to a hospital. I might have to pay for it, or my car insurance will. But I've never had health insurance, and I never will. Never will need it. My insurance is the earth around me and my knowledge of the earth around me. That's my insurance.
So as far as that goes, if you didn't write down, or if you know me on Facebook, you can send me a private message, and I can send you some documentation or some research or some other stuff or whatever, because I know some of my Facebook friends are listening. And other than that, if we don't have any more questions, I think we're just going to go ahead and play some music, and because I know Raina's voice is just about gone.
I have to still make 2 more phone calls tonight.
Well, Raina, I want to thank you a lot. And Cindy, I thank you for calling in. And Gail, I thank you for calling in. And Gail, I'll call you later because I think I have an idea of what the cause is. Yeah. Just not going to talk about it on the air. Anyway, I want to thank Lynn again.
Thank you, JoJo.
Thank you, Cindy. I'll talk to you later, too.
Okay.
So, anyway, Raina's is earthwalk-USA at mchsi.com. And you can find me on Facebook. So we're going to end the show tonight. I'm going to play a little music and let Raina go gargle with some warm salt water or something.